Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Brad Mayfield. I'm the Director of Business Development with Greater Therapy Centers. In just a second, I'm going to turn this presentation over to Andrew and he will get started. But first, I wanted to give you a couple notes. We have had this webinar series going on for the last 3 weeks and have had some great topics. Tomorrow is our final scheduled webinar, and that's going to be a great one. So make sure you tune in for that. But that one and any of the previous webinars and this one today, obviously, will be posted up on our Greater Therapy Center's YouTube channel if you want to access any of those. Also, you can hit our Facebook page and you can see the schedule and the sign up information if you want to sign up for tomorrow. Our plan is to continue to do these into the future, probably with less frequency, but we will be recording and different topics and subject matter and posting those. So continue to check back on Facebook and YouTube. Okay, here's a introduction for Andrew real quick, and then I'll turn it over to him. Andrew earned his Bachelor of Science in Nutrition, Exercise, and Health Science from University of Nebraska at Lincoln. Then he went to the University of Nebraska Medical Center, where he earned his Doctor of Physical Therapy in 2016. He is a certified strength and conditioning specialist through the National Strength and Conditioning Association. He started here with GTC in 2016. He's currently over at our Rockwall Clinic. His career experiences, primarily in outpatient orthopedics and sports medicine. He's had a wide range of clinical experience ranging from working with farmers and ranchers in rural Nebraska to working at a training center where he worked with athletes from the NFL, U.S. Olympic team, foreign national teams, as well as youth sports. He loves working with patients of all ages and with various orthopedic conditions, but he has a particular passion for working with recreational athletes. As far as his hobbies, he loves being active and exercising. He played football, basketball, and high jumped growing up. Participating in training for these sports led to a passion for weight training and led him to pursue a career in physical therapy. When he's not at work, he enjoys spending time with his wife, Amber, his friends, his family, and participating in recreational sports and church activities. His personal statement, he says he absolutely loves getting people out of pain and back to the activities they love and enjoy. The body has an extraordinary design and has an amazing ability to adapt, and he thrives on getting to show patients what they can be capable of again when recovering from injury and surgery. All right, Andrew, I'm going to turn this over to you. Great topic today, so I'm excited to listen. Everyone, I will be putting myself on mute and monitoring. If you have any questions, make sure you type into the question box there, and toward the end of this presentation, we'll do our best to answer any questions that come up. Take it away, Andrew.
All right. Thank you for the introduction, Brad, and thank you all for joining me for the next installment in our webinar series. We are going to be going over balance and fall prevention, and specifically exercises and strategies to reduce falls and improve your balance. So let's get started. So first, we want to talk about some key takeaways, what we want to take away from this presentation. And really, I just have two things that I want you to take away. The first being that falls are a problem. We're going to go over some statistics that show this and convince you that this is something that we should be addressing. And then the second thing that we want to do is just go over how to address this problem, give you some key strategies and exercises that are going to be able to help reduce your fall risk or the fall risk of a loved one. So going into that first box, that falls are a problem. We want to be able to define a fall. If you look at there's lots of research on how often people are falling, the injuries from falls, and just a real quick definition of a fall is just any event where you're coming to rest down on the ground or a lower surface when you're not intending to do so, and they're going to count that as a fall whether you're injured or not, so that we have just a broad definition of what we're talking about. So going into some fall statistics, 1 in 4 Americans over the age of 65 falls each year. So it's very likely that you know someone who has fallen and or that someone that could benefit from this information. Each year, an estimated some 600,000 people are dying from falls. So that's quite a few people. And then finally, across the globe, some 30 million falls are serious enough to require medical attention each year. So quite a large problem. Going into the consequences of falls, what can happen if you are running into this problem? We're going to look at that falls are the leading cause of injury-related death in adults age 65 and older. And then each year, and this is in the U.S., that there's 300,000 people over 65 that are hospitalized from hip fractures, and 95% of those are associated with a fall. So going into our next kind of broad topic of how are we going to address this problem? What strategies do we have? So looking at fall risk reduction, there's going to be four main areas that we're going to look at. And the first one is we're going to spend the majority of our time today looking at strength and balance training. Particularly in this one, we'll be addressing balance training and strategies to improve your balance. I'll reference you to some material of where you can improve your strength, because that would also help as far as balance. But primarily today, we're going to look more at the balance exercises. Getting a vision assessment, that would be something that is going to be helpful. As we'll see on the next slide, our vision is one of our main senses that we use to maintain our balance. So making sure that you're able to see well, that you're addressing any sort of degenerative diseases that are going on with your eyes will be helpful for, again, not having any falls. Doing a home hazard assessment, this is just a way of looking at the environment of your home, seeing are there any risky situations such as stairs, such as carpets, things that might be something that you would trip over, and how can we lessen the likelihood that you would fall at home. And then finally, medication review. As you saw on our statistics, a lot of times it is our 65 and older population that tend to fall. And a lot of times as we get into that 65 and older range, we end up on a few medications. Some of those can have interactions with each other. Some of them have side effects such as affecting your blood pressure, which can cause some lightheadedness, dizziness. So talking with your physician if you're experiencing any side effects can be something that can be really helpful for reducing your risk of a fall. So we're going to kind of go into particularly where physical therapy can be helpful in this broad category. To do this, we need kind of just a general understanding of our balance system, how our body maintains its balance in general. And to do this, there's going to be three main parts that we're going to look at of how our body just kind of knows where it is in the world and how to stay upright. So the first that I alluded to earlier was that vision, that we get feedback from our eyes on where we are in space, and our body makes natural corrections to kind of keep our eyes level with the world. So that's going to be something that is critical to our balance of being able to use our vision. Second, we have something called our somatosensory system, and that's just a fancy word for saying of kind of how your body perceives where it's at in space, how it feels like the floor, like how stiff or soft the surface you're on, how your body's just taking in that information and using that to, again, know where your body is in space. And then finally, kind of the last piece of this three-part system really is our vestibular system, which is going to be that in your inner ear, there's several different canals with fluid, and just how those canals, how the fluid moves around in those canals, it gives us feedback, and there's certain reactions with that inner ear system that helps keep us upright. So when we look into balance exercises, now keep those three systems in mind, because it's really going to be formed around kind of addressing each of those areas and how we can refine some of those systems. So I want to start with the disclaimer. If you're watching this, we definitely want to be working on improving our balance, but make sure that you have a safe environment to do so, that you either have like a chair or a counter to stay balanced by, or somebody that can help you with your balance exercises. So just make sure that you feel safe at home if you're going to attempt doing any of these exercises. So the first thing that we can address as far as balance and a way to work on our balance is using something of changing our base of support, which is just a way of saying how far apart like our feet are on the ground, or how much of a surface is in contact with the ground. So the first way we can kind of start to challenge our balance a little bit, instead of standing with our feet at shoulder width apart, is looking at standing with our feet right underneath us, touching. That's going to narrow that base of support, narrow that contact area with the ground, make it a little bit more challenging to balance. We can then go more into this one foot in front of the other, kind of that position, like if someone is going to ask you to walk the line with that one foot in front of the other. That would be kind of the next progression of shortening that base of support. And then finally, going on to something like a single leg balance, balancing on that one leg is going to be the most challenging. And these are 3 different positions that you can use to work on your balance, kind of going from the left from the easiest to right on the hardest. And you can incorporate some of the other things we're talking about in the future slides with these exercises to make them more challenging. So there's 2 things as far as vision. We mentioned that vision plays a big role in balance. So there's 2 things that you can use in your balance exercises. You can either start with your eyes open, performing the exercises. That's going to allow that vision to contribute to your balance. Or if we're trying to make them more difficult, we can close our eyes. That's going to take away that vision. You're going to have to rely more on that inner ear and then that body feedback system, that somatosensory system on where your body's at. So as it gets easy with all the exercises with your eyes open, then I would encourage you to try them with your eyes closed. Another way that we can look at working on our balance is using some sort of altered surface. And this is going to affect that somatosensory system. It's going to change the feedback you get from the floor, kind of make it more difficult to tell like where your ankle or hip is at in space. So that's going to challenge that system a little bit more, make you rely a little bit more on your vision and that inner ear system for balance. So some ways we can work on that altered surface is you see this gentleman, he's using a pillow at home. That just takes away that feedback that your foot is getting from the floor, makes you rely more on those other systems. So standing on something like a pillow, you'll see these here in our clinic, these foam pads that, again, this is something squishy, takes away that feedback from the floor. So if you have one of those at home, that would be a great progression from just standing on the floor. One thing I like to tell all my patients about is probably the easiest and least expensive option is just using a towel. You can start with a towel, just kind of maybe fold it over once or twice so that's a little thinner. That's going to change it a little bit, but not as much. And finally rolling up the towel kind of long ways and trying to stand on that would be kind of the hardest progression, kind of that increased thickness of the towel. It's going to make it a lot more difficult to balance on that versus the floor itself. Another way that we can work on our balance, improve it, is by adding in some form of movement. Again, that's just going to challenge. We have to be more aware of where our body is in space. So one way that I like to add in movement is this gentleman is doing here is just to add in some head turns to whatever balance exercise you're doing. There's kind of some reflex with your eyes and your inner ear that keep kind of yourself upright, and this is going to challenge that kind of inner ear system to keep you upright if you're moving your head while you're trying to maintain your balance. Then adding in some sort of step. You can do forward stepping, side stepping, backward stepping. That's going to, again, be helpful as far as if you do trip, being able to step quickly to catch your balance. And 2, of just improve your balance if you're able to kind of maintain your balance while moving farther away from that kind of center of balance that you have over your foot. So, and there's 2 ways that you can make that more difficult, of either trying to do larger steps or trying to do step more quickly. That would be something that would be good to include in your home program. And finally, the other form of movement that we can add in is some sort of reach, like this gentleman at the bottom is doing. He is reaching out with his hands, trying to reach in kind of 3 different directions there. So you could give yourself kind of a target, like a cone or a cup on a counter, try to tap that, try to move it a little bit farther away as you get better at balance. And then also with your legs, you can do that as well, of try to reach out with your toe and try to tap the floor, tap a cup in front of you, out to the side. So adding in some sort of reaching can be a good way to work on your balance as well. I mentioned that we would talk a little bit about strengthening exercises. Strength is kind of a prerequisite or something that is going to be helpful for you being able to catch your balance, of being able to have the strength if you need to step out quickly to collect yourself. So strengthening is going to be something that would be really beneficial to reducing your fall risk. I won't address it in length here because there's a whole another webinar that I did, I think 2 weeks ago, on strengthening at home. So I'd refer you to this. You can find that on YouTube, where you find all the rest of these webinars. So please see this one if you want to have some more in-depth information on how to do a strengthening program at home. So besides just doing exercises, what else can we do to decrease our fall risk? And this is something that is really easy to do, is making some home modifications. So one thing we can look to do is add in a handrail at home, and anywhere that you have like a change in surface, particularly steps, making sure there's something to hang on to would be really helpful, as that's an area where people tend to fall. Again, the shower with that slick surface tends to be a big fall area, so adding in some sort of hand support, some sort of grab bar would be really helpful. Something that people generally don't think about maybe as readily as some of these others is things on the floor, particularly area rugs. Seems like it would be pretty safe and not really cause you much trouble. But a lot of people end up catching their toe on the edge of the carpet, or it gets balled up in the middle, and again, you catch your toe and end up taking a fall. So I really encourage you, if you're kind of in that more at-risk group, in particular that 65 and older, clearing your walkways of rugs or other things that could get in your way and could lead to a fall. And then finally, we want to think about our lighting, particularly at night. Another big time that people tend to fall is getting up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And it tends to maybe be not as well lit. They end up catching their toe on something they're not expecting. They just can't use their eyes as much. So they're having to rely more on their other balance systems, that inner ear, on that feedback from their body, which aren't as good. As we get older, we tend to rely more on our vision without training and doing some of these other exercises. But trying to be able to use your vision when you're getting up to go to the bathroom can be really helpful. So I'd encourage you to put night lights on any areas that you're frequently walking at night, just so that you have a well-lit path. Wanted to state just at this time, just that we do have telehealth options available. Have my contact information there on the screen. Feel free to go to our website to get a hold of us, find a therapist that's in your area, or somebody that seems like they'd be a good fit for you, as well as increasingly we are being able to see more patients in clinic. So we would be happy to help you with any of your issues related to your balance or other issues just that would be well dealt with physical therapy. So I just want to say that we are here to help you, so please feel free to reach out. There are my references for this presentation. And finally, we'll move into if anybody has any questions.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. I really appreciate you presenting this topic today. So important to so many of our patients, and affects so many folks in our community, and something that you guys as physical therapists can help out with, obviously, so much. So I would encourage anyone who wants more information, just has some questions, maybe as far as needs to come in for an evaluation, or needs to be referred to a physician in some cases, to reach out to us and let us know. Please contact your therapist. You can go obviously on our website or Facebook page and get all of that information. And we would hope that you would utilize the great resource that is our physical therapy group to help you with these things. So thank you, Andrew. Don't guess we have any direct questions right now. Some people I'm sure will reach out to you in the future. So I appreciate all your help, and remember that we have one more webinar tomorrow. So if you'd like to sign up, hit our Facebook page. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.